Hello, this is Ezra Lacey with the Shenandoah Valley Small Business Development Center, and I'm here with Diane Roll. Diane, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I was just going to ask you, what are some previous establishments you've worked with?
Okay, well, I am the current owner of Dayton Tavern, which is inclusive of Dayton Tavern, Dayton Catering, the North River Marketplace, and I sold Mama's Caboose food truck, which I had for 12 years. I started it, I would have had it 13 years. So I've been involved with the Small Business Development Center for 14 years, helping me go from, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm going to buy this food truck, to pretty much anything. Our claim to fame is we feed anybody, anything, anywhere. And then currently, part-time, I work with JMU at the Gillum Center for Entrepreneurship. I'm their entrepreneur in residence. So just like the Small Business Development Center helped me, hopefully I can help a whole bunch of students.
Going specifically more into the Small Business Development Center, what were some ways you believe the Small Business Development Center aided you in your business venture?
Well, they are an awesome resource because not only do they have the knowledge of specific things, but there's events or there's relationship building. So they'll get you in touch with other people that may be in your field, in your specialty, in your widget, as I call it. But there's also ways that they connect you with all of the other people that need to help you when you start a small business. Your accountants, your attorneys, your marketing people. Access, like I said, to the networking events where you can just go and start talking to people that either can help you or buy from you. Mm-hmm. So that's been really, really, really instrumental in helping me get from point A to point B.
And you talked about having a good accountant. What were some ways you went about getting that person, or what was your experience?
Well, I just knew from way back. I worked with an independent pharmacy, and I did the books for them. I did a whole lot of stuff for them.
Yeah.
And I could just see the importance of cash flow, and one day you have a bunch of money in your bank and the next day you don't. So that was definitely something. So by just learning what needs to happen, and saw how my old boss got in trouble certain times of the month or whatever, that was definitely something that you need to address even before you even have an inkling of starting your business. I've only had 2 accountants. The first one was fine, but nowhere near as good as the accountant I have now, and small business oriented, good fit. I trust her with, she just logs into my bank account, logs into my credit card accounts. We talk at least once a quarter, prepares my return, my personal return. So she definitely knows more about me than I do in a lot of aspects. And that's something that you just have to surround yourself with people that you really trust, that you're both there for for a common goal. And obviously the busier I get, the more papers there are in my tax return and the more money she makes. So that's definitely something important.
Yeah, it can be beneficial for both sides.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And I remember you were talking about before the podcast the different cards. You'd have a card for working with your restaurant, and there'd be a card designated more for Costco and that aspect.
Right. So that's what I've learned by trying to keep receipts and taking the whole shoebox or garbage bag. So basically, any suggestion that I give to any business owner is get that credit card. Mm-hmm. Don't max it out, pay it off every month, but take that card, use it for everything. And then that card can just roll into QuickBooks or whatever software you're using. Mm-hmm. So every time you go to 7-Eleven for gas, it automatically knows. And you're not like, oh, let me dig through my car to find this, $20, which is now probably more like a $50 gas receipt. When you have to run to Walmart for whatever, and you can even just designate, like, okay, these were supplies and this was food, or as much information as you can get, so then when the time comes, poof, your tax return is done, your P&Ls are done. You can analyze your P&Ls monthly. I mean, my accountant has my stuff in my hand probably 15 days after the month closes. So I can look and say, oh, I can back off on this, and I have a little extra money to spend on that. So I can get that snapshot picture of this is where I stand right now. Should I make that next purchase, or do I have to cut back on payroll, or just you can in your mind you can see sort of where your business is going, and then after a couple of years you know that okay, I make all my money in May, September, October, and December. So I've got to hold my breath through March and April, hope something comes through. So after you get to a point, you know, I've got to save this money because I've got to coast through the first quarter when business is slow.
Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, especially with seasonality, it can be, I can't even imagine. It must be very difficult.
It's not easy, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people that start a business, they get so consumed with their, like I said, their widget, what they're going to do, their idea, their product, their service, that you have to stop for a minute and go back and say, well, can I really pull this off? Is this feasible? Am I going to make money? Am I going to cash flow? Am I going to, still have work-life balance? Can I, being, woman-owned, family, have children, can I do this and still make the kids' baseball game? Which, if you don't do that and you just burn yourself out and work those 80, 100-hour weeks, you're not going to make it. So if you ask me, like, what's the most important thing, I think the most important thing is asking for help. And that's the hardest thing you're going to do, but it's like, can you help me? It's easy to say, like, hey, I need an accountant, I will pay you to help me, but a lot of times it's just like, can you help me? Small Business Development Center, that's what they do. Like, they're here to help you, so take advantage of every morsel of help they can give you. I hope to do the same thing with my position as entrepreneur in residence with the students. Just come to, I know this stuff. Like, if I don't know something, I'm going to tell you right now, I have no idea what you're talking about. But if I know it, and I know this because I've been doing this for 13, 14 years, I know all the mistakes that I made in starting a business and running and it's not glamorous at all. You will cry in the shower. You will, think, I'm just going to go and be the greeter at Walmart, and, I don't, it's hard. But if you do it consistently and ask for help and have good friends and be nice to people, you can be successful.
Yeah. My dad always tells me being persistent and being nice, those two qualities will take you far,
And nice goes a whole lot longer, a lot further than just being organized or proficient or if you're getting brain surgery, nice doesn't really matter. But if you've been and you're nice to your employees and you're nice to your customers, especially your employees, because they're the ones that are face to face with your customers. Half the time I don't see half of my customers, so my employees are going to be a representation of the business. So just be nice to people. Understand that everybody wants to have a job. Everybody wants to make money. Everybody comes with talents. Some talents are better than others. So let them do that job. Don't try to shove that square peg in the round hole because it's not going to fit. But then you also have to understand that people are coming with their life crises, their family issues. They don't feel good. We made it through COVID. That's enough right there. Just having to juggle. People talk about, oh, my employees are terrible. No, they're not terrible. They're human beings that, have souls and lives and children and drama and hurt and happiness. And so you have to understand that they're just like you and motivate them in a way that they're pursuing your mission. But there's going to be days that it's like, just go home and spend time with your family. They need you more than I do right at the moment. And that's what I think one of my strong points is, that you have empathy and you I truly like people, and I want people to be successful, and sometimes I really need you to help me.
And when you're having tough moments like that, what are some ways you think have helped that motivation process for your company's goals?
You have to have good friends.
Mm.
You have to have a wine cellar. And a lot of times I'll step back and I'll think, okay, I'm in the food business and we're trying to pull off this event that's just not happening the way it's supposed to. But you step back and you go, okay, well, I have super qualified people. Might have to pull this one out and insert this other person there to try to get the best team. But then you step back and you think, well, who else can do this? Like, who else could I call in this general area that can actually make this happen? And I think, not too many people. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to starting from the beginning and communicating and getting the information and what is my mission? Like when we started this, it's like, okay, what's the goal of this podcast?
Yeah.
So if you start, I forget what book I read this in, but you begin with the end in mind. So you know what the end result is you want. Like just in the restaurant, the end result is you want happy customers with full bellies, that the kitchen didn't destroy a bunch of food, we didn't waste a lot. That's your end goal. So how do I get from point A to point B? So if we put this, and this in place, then everything should go smoothly.
Yeah. But does it always work out like that?
No.
Yeah.
I would say 99% of the time,
Really?
but it goes back to my roots, because I come from southwestern Pennsylvania, big Steeler fan, and if you go back to the 70s, anybody that plays sports, anybody that follows professional anything, your fundamentals in baseball, football, it's the same. Pee-wee sports and professional, it's that same. So if we can go in, control the things we can control, put things in place that we know we're in control of these items. So then when this oddball thing comes whizzing at you, that you're like, okay, how are we going to handle this? We can, because we already have everything else is rolling. So then when you get the whatever comes at you, then you can handle it, because all of your other stuff is locked and loaded.
And when you mentioned the other stuff that's being locked and loaded, what can you do to get that stuff ready? Like, how can you prepare your business to have all that stuff organized, you know?
You hire people that know how to do that.
Yeah.
If I am probably the least organized person on the planet, with talking with Allison, for the first, pretty much still now, 90% of my work is done on a napkin or Post-it notes, so I've just realized I'm not that person that has every I dotted and T crossed. I need to make sure that I have people coming behind me and dotting the I's, crossing the T's. And after you do something so many times and you make those mistakes and you're like, you go through you're not believe what happened today. You know, what can we do to avoid those? You know, if you've been doing this for 10 years, and you do, like, we're in the wedding business. You know, if we're doing 30, 40, 50 wedding large events a year, and you're still having surprises of, like, the basic fundamentals, then you're in the wrong business. Yeah. You need to be ready for the things that other people would say, like, oh my God, yeah, been there, done that. So this is what you need to do beforehand to make sure this is covered. A simple example would be, you load your car, you take extra napkins, you take extra spoons, you take extra paper towels, you know, because those are the things that are going to happen. So when everybody panics, it's like, somebody spilled a drink. Hey, I have 15 rolls of paper towels in my car. That, you just know that, so that doesn't become the big drama. It'll be the next thing.
Yeah, and at some point, I'm sure you develop yourself in a way where you can kind of foresee the way situations are going to go. You know, you start to really analyze the process of
Yeah, now my problem is, I had the food truck, which nobody else really had one. So I sort of just had to figure that out on my own, which I go back to relationships again, where whether it's the local breweries, the wineries, people that just gave me a chance, like, hey, come to my house for my kid's graduation party or whatever it may be, you just get out there, do something. And And that was advice. I got that from Kurt Hartman from Bluestone Vineyard. If you're going to do something, do something. And if it may not be perfect, and I see this with people that, like, whether it's the students that come to me through the Gillum Center or just other people looking to start a business, they get so worried about everything having to be perfect. Like, oh, I can't do this until this is perfect. Yeah, you can do it. And then once you get a little bit of money, then you can make it look prettier. But most people don't notice these little fine details. You know, you go back to what's the end goal. If your end goal is to have a good party with good food and the service is good, it doesn't matter what your logo looks like. It doesn't matter, you know, if everybody's wearing matching shirts. You know, like, that's insignificant. You want to look nice, but nobody cares. They care about their event. You put yourself in the shoes of your customer. You communicate with them and get as much information to make sure that you are tracking on what they want their day to be like, or their meal to be like, or, you know, even their, like, simple, like, hey, I'm gonna eat a hamburger at the winery. And if you can work it backwards from that seems to be, I think, why we're successful. People like us. We're good at what we do.
Especially in the restaurant industry, I know that can be a very tough market. So.
Oh, geez. And that's where I was going. It's, you know, so when you start out, you don't have any customers. You've got to build them. So you have no real data. You don't know that, you know, October is your busiest month or whatever until you have a couple of years in. Well, my couple of years in, I was growing, everything was fine. COVID hits, set you back down to zero. You got to figure out something else, start cruising with that. Economy shifts again. So you have to be just ready to change, like ready to make those. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and over if the market is not asking for it. So, I mean, you could just think, you're young, but you can remember back your high school days versus your college days. I mean, the thought of ordering DoorDash or the thought of, like, it wasn't even on your radar back in high school. And you're young.
Yeah, so, especially with Uber. I mean, I used to think it was too expensive, but, you know, now as I've weighed my risks and rewards, I've been like, this is the total way to go. Yeah,
taxi, you called a taxi, maybe.
Yeah.
Took the bus, maybe. Now it's a simple, Uber. It's a word. It's a verb. You know what I mean? It's like Google. It's like a verb now. It's not just a. So when you think about those big boys that change like that, well, little businesses have to just change for what the market's asking you for. You got to be able to deliver what they want.
Yeah. And you mentioned marketing, or marketing specifically. What are some key aspects of marketing you think, because I know we were talking about this a little bit, but are just so essential to having a successful small business?
You have to get out and build relationships. And if that's not your thing, then you have a friend that goes, it's that bubbly person, that in your face, I want to talk to everybody. A lot of times people will start a business and they put a huge marketing budget out there and then they're out of money and they don't know why. I think the number one is to have those relationships, go and talk to people, earn your credibility, earn your respect, get it face to face with them, give them something free, let them taste your food, or experiment with whatever your product is. I really think that's the number one. You market yourself. And then, you have a business card, or you have a brochure, you have a big sign in front of your brick and mortar. But again, that you don't need the fancy sign. You can take a cardboard box and a Sharpie, and you get your point across. Sometimes you even get it across better because it's the only thing that's not blinking and lighting up, and it's like, oh, look at that! That looks. I've never seen something like that. I did some commercials years ago where it started in black and white. So I knew, because it's like everybody has these, 4G 85-inch televisions, and you're like, what? It's black and white. What happened to my TV? Oh, it's a commercial. So it actually, you stop and look at it because it's something you're not used to seeing.
Yeah.
So, I try to, I don't know if I'm the best marketer in the world, but you do something. You put something in somebody's hand. Get that person in front of you, and don't worry about it absolutely being 100% perfect. And just nobody notices.
Nobody notices.
Mm-hmm.
I know, because I think that's a good point, especially, when you say nobody notices, I think back to different media streams and how that's changed, because I think a lot of TV's been very popular for so many years, but I think it's trending more towards social media, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How has that been for you?
Social media. Now, I'm old, so Instagram, I really don't understand the whole concept of that. But neither do my clientele. Mm-hmm. And I have people that are like, oh, we need to do this, and Instagram and TikTok and whatever. So I do a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is, let's say the wedding market, for example. So the young people who are all about the new social media trends,
good point.
They can go and find it and say, this is what I want, or who I want, or whatever the case may be. I saw this on TikTok. I saw this on Instagram. But guess who's writing the check? It's the old person. It's the parents who want to go to a good old Facebook, pick up the phone, make a phone call, talk on phone like people used to do. That's, in my business, that's my target.
Interesting.
The marketplace that I have in Bridgewater, we accept the meal plan for the folks at the Bridgewater home. They're not watching TikTok. Now, they do get on the iPad. Like, it's called the iPad. Whatever it is, they saw it on the iPad. So if we could put enough information on the iPad that they know what's happening, but it doesn't have to be glitzy, because older people don't understand that. Or don't want to understand. Most of it's like, we don't care.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Where our generation is used to having to work to make something happen. Mm-hmm. If we took a class in college that was a coding class, you had to code, a mile long to make a circle, So we had to work it. We had DOS. It was like Windows wasn't even invented yet. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have a computer in the house. You went to college, you had one computer for the whole department, and you'd have your 10-minute slot. You either learned how to work it or you didn't. And that's the difference. And I think if you can market to old school that isn't used to like pressing one button and everything works, and then you can also market enough to the younger generation, I guess, or the more tech savvy generation, that's good. And social media normally doesn't cost you much unless you start boosting. Mm-hmm. So no, social media is huge.
Yeah.
Huge. It's like, I know when I started the restaurant, and it was under construction, and it's an old building, and it's real pretty. So I started like a couple months out and like showing the work and showing how things are coming together, and putting ideas, those call to action. What would you like to see on the menu, and blah blah blah. When we opened, we had a line of like 20 people waiting to get in at opening time, which was like really, really cool.
Very exciting. Yeah.
And those, I would probably venture to guess that 80% of those people are still regular customers, 7-8 years later.
That's wonderful. Because it can really be a wonderful thing,
When you make because the community is part of your business. It can't be like, oh, look at me, I'm the business. Oh, no, heck no, I'm not the business. I am a facilitator so other people can have a good time. And that's what I like about the job. I mean, have you ever really seen anybody eating food that's unhappy? Like, you're happy when you're eating, or you're at a celebration, or you cut out the hangry. That's so. I'm in a good place, but it's not me. It's about them. Like, we want to make sure they have a good experience, and of course, I reap the benefits of them having a good experience. But I'm in it more to make somebody happy. The money will be a byproduct of doing the right things.
I like that quote. So, going back a little bit, tell me, what was the inspiration for Mama's Caboose, and how that led to, your other business ventures?
Okay. You might have to edit this part out.
Okay.
But I moved from southwestern Pennsylvania into the Shenandoah Valley.
Mhm.
I worked for a city that, let's just put it this way, I'm a independent woman, highly-ish educated, kind of bossy. So I didn't quite fit the role, and I didn't play nicely with everybody. So at some point, actually, I was at the beach, and I was like, you know what I need to do? I need to buy like a little wagon or an old train caboose and set it up at the beach and make whatever food I want to make and drink beer all day and not even wear shoes. And if you want to eat it, you eat it, and if you don't, you don't. So that didn't really happen. But what I did is I bought Mama's Caboose to make it look like the caboose, and went different places and made different food. And if you eat it, you eat it, and if you don't, you don't. And then that was able to catch a little bit of traction, like I said, from really good friends, like from the vineyard people, the brewery people, that other business owners that know how hard it is to start. They're like, yeah, I'll give you a shot, whatever, come cook something somewhere. So the just regular old weekend warrior festival setups led to small caterings. Well, then this opportunity just poof falls in your lap to just, they were renovating the building that's now the Dayton Tavern. So it's like, yeah, I'll take it. So the tavern, which is nice, which is much nicer than the truck was, led to more and more and more catering. So we couldn't do all the work in that building. We were going to kill each other. So I was able to find another opportunity to just poof out of nowhere, a kitchen space that was in Bridgewater, owned by Bridgewater Retirement Community. So just in that part of the building, we did our catering out of there. And then after COVID hit, we went, just make anything, give it to anybody. We'll give them whatever they want. Stay in business. They're hungry. They can't go to the grocery store. We can't, we are not allowed to have customers. Do something. So we ended up doing what I refer to as Your Dinner, which we've since rebranded into Grab and Go by Dayton Catering, because there's just too much going on there. But so like I said, during COVID, we did the family meals, we did takeout, we did whatever we could do to survive, which afforded the opportunity to rent the rest of this building that housed that original kitchen. But it was too big. So then it was like, well, this is too big. I can't fill up this space. So I asked other people, and at the time it was all women, not just by default, not intentionally. So I had other people in there that could sell their wares, start their business. All I asked for is you just work some time on the cash register, you do whatever you want. It's your business, you run it the way you want to run it. And so it was almost like an incubator for other people who want to start a business but can't afford to just go full throttle with a brick and mortar. And that's worked out. So that's been 3 years or so, and it's really starting to pick up, because like we talked about, times are changing, the economy's not that great. You can't go every day and drop $50 for dinner, but you can go there and grab them, take them home, and microwave them, and it works. It works. And like I said, I think because of just these interactions and talking, because everybody eats, like my customer base is like everybody in the valley. I mean, I'll tell you, it's not the people that go to 7-Eleven for lunch and they eat a bag of chips and a 2-liter Mountain Dew. The food desert people are not my people. Yeah. But everybody else is. So I think just being nice, talking to people, and just being a normal human being affords an opportunity to where that's where the JMU thing came through is, would you like to be our entrepreneur in residence and help other people realistically in real life? Textbooks great, theory's great, you need to know all your background, but you need to just, when you have those moments that are just like, I can't believe what just happened, like that's the stuff that's not in the textbook. And I feel like that's why they asked me to help people just like the SBDC helped me.
Specifically with the entrepreneur residence position, what are some of the most rewarding stories that you've had while in this role, at JMU.
Okay, well, this time I've only been there for about 6 months.
Okay.
But I like the students, and they're engaging, and I was a little skeptical because feel like you're a COVID kid, like you wore a mask for like a third of your life, basically, you know. It's like, how are these students going to be? And they're awesome. They're engaging, they're willing to learn, they want to, and they're people like me, because if you're going to be at the Gillum Center for entrepreneurship, you're wired a little different.
Yeah.
You really don't want the 9-to-5 job. You like the things that come at you from nowhere. It's kind of like an adrenaline rush. That it's a whole different. It's just different. It's hard to explain unless you get it. You know, if you're in that place where, like, you know what, I don't play well with other people for whatever reason. I need to do this on my own. I need to be my own boss. I need to set my own schedule. And I could see things in some of the students that, like, oh, there's some that are like, they have blown me out of the water already. Like, they are already on track. And then there's others that are still trying to figure out what they want to do. You know, the ideas are awesome. They're like, there's some really, really good ideas. Hopefully I can help them understand the cash flow and the numbers, and just don't go full throttle on this until you have, you know, don't spend a nickel till you have a quarter in your pocket. Because I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
No, I really, like I said, that's rewarding. It's really cool when you see a student that you know, my job, I kind of connect them with other people in the community. Like we were talking about, you know, it's not all necessarily about your perfectly articulated cover letter. It's about going somewhere and meeting somebody that's going to get you to your next step, or give you your next opportunity, or you're going to help them with whatever it is they need, and they're going to help you with whatever you need. And it's really so far rewarding when a few people, you give them advice, or you turn them on to a person or a place or some place to go or something to do, and then they come back and they was like somewhat successful in what they accomplished, you know. Yeah, and like I said, they're all over the place. Now, I like the young generation. Like, a lot of people, and that's another thing, I talk to, like, my peers who are like, these young kids, they don't know anything, they're on the phone all the time, blah, 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 blah. So, I say to them, can you carry 2 cases of beer up a flight of steps? No. Can you fix the iPad? No. And can you drive at night? No. But all of your generation can, and we need to take what you guys have to offer and use it, because I don't know what half of this stuff is, and I can't carry 2 cases of beer up this. I can't carry 1 case of beer up this day, and I can't fix the iPad sometimes, but not really. So it's like, you need to have people on your team that have those skills. You need old people on your team because they have institutional memory. They know what happened 5 years ago. They remember being at this event or talking with these people or those people. So you have to build a team that's all across the board that goes back to those fundamentals and being able to problem solve, and hey, look what just happened, and then somebody can jump into gear and say, oh, let me jump on the iPad and fix that. Like, you know, whatever the case is. And that's something, I think that's what's most important. You don't always just get people on your team that act like you, because then you just have a bunch of yous and nothing gets done. You need to have, sometimes you need to have people that you really don't like. You like them, but you don't always like what they do, but you know you need those skills.
There's certain skills that help. Do you remember a certain experience, you know, where you were working with someone that, you know, what was clashing with, you know, you personally, but their skills were just essential?
Oh, every day.
Every day.
And it's a joke, because I mean, like I said, I love everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just like, oh, you're driving me crazy. You're driving me crazy. Why do we need to, like, why are we going so in depth into this thing? But I mean, I can humble myself to say, like, okay, all right. When you get the review, or you get the phone call, or you get somebody that says, you know, man, this person did this for me and that for me, and this was perfect, and if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have had that. That's like, okay, good. Then you can go and just type away. I mean, you can go and do what you need to do, because that is the part that's missing. I'm not going to do that. And I'm older now, and that's not what I do. I do all this other stuff, so I will put somebody in the place to do the things that part needs to be done. One of my employees, it's been with me since, the very beginning. She's 15 years old and started in the food truck, a friend of my daughter's. And she made a comment, because I'm trying to back out a little bit. Obviously, going to JMU a couple days a week, I don't need to be there 24 hours a day. And she says, what you need are 2 70%ers. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, when you own a business, I'm in 100%. Like, I am in 100%. It's mine. It's my baby. It's me. Nobody is going to be in 100% if it's not their own thing. She said, but if you can get a 70%er, actually 2 70%ers that are working 70% of, like, they care that much, 70%. Now you got 2 people working at 140%. I can only work at 100. So I was like, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. If I can have 2 people that are giving me 70% effort, I now have 140%. I can only give 100. So that's what you need to do, to trust your people. And don't get me wrong, I've fired a few. I've had a few that just like, this is not for you, or they've said this is not for me. That's fine. It's one of the books I read, the Good to Great, where it talks about you get your bus rolling. In my case, it was the Caboose. You get your bus rolling. And then as the bus you're not sure where it's going, but it's moving. It's going somewhere forward. You get the right people on the bus, and you get the wrong people off the bus. And wrong doesn't mean bad. Wrong just means they're just not going to fit. And then once you get all the right people on the bus, you got to get them in the right seats. That was one of the profound things how am I going to do this? I better read a book, and maybe somebody will tell me something. So that was one of the big ticket things that sometimes you have to put the personalities aside, or the commonalities aside, and just work together, because you're working for that end result.
Yeah.
And I need you to help me do whatever. I would say that I do love everybody that works with me, but there's a few that'll drive you crazy. But that's just what you need to make that team work.
And you mentioned looking for 2 70%ers. What's the process that goes into that? I mean, that seems like a very, it seems like a difficult thing, kind of.
Yeah, it is. Most of it, you know how you just get a feel, like you have a gut feeling? And that was something, it wasn't SBDC, but it was SCORE. The old guys from SCORE told me, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. I have somebody else saying, if you're going to do something, just do it. But it's like, if it just doesn't feel right. And you know how when you meet somebody, and they can come with great credentials, or they're really attractive, or what, and you think you want them, but there's something in your belly saying, nah, I don't know about this. So you try to just get the right person, and once you can appreciate the person for who they are, and you treat them with respect, and they can respect you, and there's an honesty that goes on, and you just get the right people, and it doesn't matter. You're not, you don't try to just box check. You can, get in the world of diversity. I love diversity, because it's just the fact that more people are alike than they are different. So you get people that come from different places in the food world. Man, you get people with recipes, and I have Sarah that makes her sangria, and people go nuts over the sangria, and it's like that cultural thing that helps my little individual culture be really good, because we have like all different kinds of people that bring all different kinds of ideas, different recipes, different places in the world, places. It's good. It's good to have that people that come from all different backgrounds, all different places, all different whatevers, build a really good team. And if you come to my restaurant and you don't like so-and-so because they're a whatever, then don't come to my restaurant. We got somebody else that'll take that seat.
I like that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got to check it out sometime.
Yeah, when I first started, and you know, like, I have like a year, they're building a truck, I'm coming to SBDC, I'm reading books, I'm trying to figure out how to do this. I wrote my vision and mission statement, which you can spend hours figuring out what's a vision, what's a mission, doesn't matter. Nobody cares, nobody reads it. But I pulled this out not too long ago. I had 3 words. It was egalitarian, inclusive, and fun. And egalitarian means there's no management, there's no hierarchy, there's no, you know who to go to when you have a problem. You know who by default is like the manager. You know, with 5 people working, who's going to manage you? So we don't have that hierarchy system. So everybody's equal. If you can, I could have Chef Gordon Ramsay in my kitchen, but if I don't have a dishwasher, no plates are going out, doesn't matter. So we all work together. And same thing with inclusive. I feed anybody, anything, anywhere, so I don't care. I don't care. And I think everybody that works doesn't care. You include everybody, because everybody has a talent, everybody has a heart and a soul, and it's fun. And fun is definitely good sense of humor. Mm-hmm. That's a big one. Gotta have a sense of humor. And you have to get people that enjoy having fun. Mm-hmm. So that's, I've never changed it. Like 14 years and egalitarian, inclusive, and fun.
Is that how you describe your company to potential new employees, or like is that on your company's logo?
No, it just sort of is. I think it just sort of is. No, someone said, you hire slowly, fire quickly. So, you try to get a background, you bring everybody else around. Do you like them? What you think? Are they okay? What do you, and you give people a chance. No, I have 3 rules. And that's basically all I say is I have 3 rules if you come work for me. 1 is don't be late. 2 is don't steal from me. If you get behind somewhere and you need to advance on a paycheck or you need $20 to pay your electric bill, just ask. And the 3rd one is don't screw people over. That if you're going to come in here and be that disruptor, that's going to be the drama, and he didn't do this and she did that and they did, I don't put up with any of that. So if you're going to, I don't want you screwing over a customer. You don't screw over your friends. It's just don't be late. Don't steal anything, and don't screw anybody over. And everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, a lot of arguments start because of that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said, she said, and they did. And I mean, people have so much other stuff going on in their life that they really don't care if you filled the mayonnaise jar last night or not. Yeah. And it's like, just fill up the mayonnaise. And if it becomes a chronic problem, then you're just like, hey, dude, you didn't fill the mayonnaise.
Yeah, communication.
Oh, hey, sorry, I'll do it next time. That usually nips 80% of the problems right there.
Yeah. And it's like, these things seem obvious, but, in the business setting, it can get confusing.
Yeah.
Because yeah, sorry.
No, I was going to say everybody comes with other stuff. You have, people with children, people with animals, people with sick people like, and it all doesn't have to be negative. Then there's also going to be like, well, I don't want to work today because I want to go to a party. So my rules are like, don't call, you get 1 no-call, no-show, that's it, you're done. Like, I won't, you don't show up, you don't work here anymore. But here's a calendar, so if you know you're going to go, JMU Thursday night, okay, you're going to go to party Thursday night, then put it on the calendar week out that you can't work Friday. Somebody will cover you because they're going to want to go screw off on another day or have something to do, so everybody just kind of carries everybody else. That's what I strive for. Does it work 100% of the time? No, but I'll give it a good 80-90%.
Because that's what you can ask for,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people get sick, people do things, but if you know you're going to be sick, because you know you're going to party, just say, I'm going to party. And everybody's like, okay, I'll cover
Yeah,
for
exactly.
you. Yep, easy.
I was going to ask you a little bit more just about, working with Allison Dugan.
I love
And
Allison Dugan.
Yeah, so.
I've known Allison Dugan for a long time before I even started this business. And no, I think it's great. I think she brings a lot to the table, very candid, so you know what you're getting. And I just think it's helpful. And she's also a communicator and a connector. And, if I come, to this day, I still come a good once a year. She goes over my stuff. We set our goals and kind of brings you back to earth of like, oh yeah, I'm like really not doing that like I used to. I need to get back on the stick in whatever aspect it may be. She's great in the marketing world, how to, things that I'm not real good at. Mm-hmm. And then being able to like, the whole SBDC in general is to get you to a place where you can get with other people that you can ask for help.
Yeah.
And they can ask you for help. And if there's profit along the way, wonderful. Welcome to America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 'cause like positioning your let's think, business plan, having your cash flow projections in place, mm-hmm. things like that, because those can be difficult,
Yeah, because a business plan, okay, if you need funding of any kind, bank, loan, whatever, you need a business plan for a bank that shows that you don't need any money. Then you need a business plan for the IRS that shows you don't have any money. And then you need your real business plan of like, I'm going to set a timeline, or I know, whether it's based on holidays or based seasonality. So it's almost like a combination of 3 business plans together with this super flexibility to know that it's not really going to work that way. You're gonna have the mindset that once you start in a certain direction and realize like, that's not too good, you can zero off to the other direction. Mm-hmm. And it's easier said than done, and especially when you first start out. But that's what I like about the SBDC, because they've watched how many people either make it super successful, kind of successful, or just like they didn't listen to anybody and they're not in business anymore. Mm-hmm. And then they can come with that information and that expertise to say, don't do this. Make sure you do that. Call this person. They'll help you in this category or that category. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few years back they offered a program called the Growth Wheel.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
And I liked it. I thought it really kept things in mind, because when you start a business, it's so easy to just keep going back to your widget. This my idea. But you've got to look at like 4 components. So you have your idea, which also comes along with your customer profile and who are you targeting, and so like that chunk. But then that chunk also moves into like, how are you organizing your business? Are you a sole proprietor? Are you an LLC? Do you have a partner? Like, so, and how do you organize your whole business? Do you have a storefront? Are you just like, are you an influencer that all you really need is a phone charger and you're in business? There's how do you operate? Again, are you a storefront? Are you online? Are you selling a product, a service, a technology, and everything that goes along with that? How much technology do you need? Do you just need an iPhone, and you're good? Or do you need to have a room full of computers or machinery or whatever it is? And then you have all the financial part. So you have your numbers. Are you getting funding? Do you have loans? What are you spending your money on? And then it moves into like your employees and your sales force, and it's so intertwined. But when you look at the growth wheel, it kind of keeps you in the yellow box or the blue box. And as you're starting to work on your business, you can stay in your blue box and keep your mind in your blue box, even though it'll jump over to yellow, yellow one or green one. You go back to your blue box and you get so much more work done, especially if you're like I am, entrepreneur, and I'm probably like ADHD is probably like they probably coincide. That was a good program. I wish they did that program more.
Yeah. I know that Allison recently hosted a capstone meeting for the Black and Brown community. And they brought in different aspects of the growth wheel, which I thought was awesome, because they had like HR come in, they had an HR rep come in, and then they had there's another one. It was, I think, looking for properties, like real estate. And so it was like what you're talking about.
So your facilities.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're in a machine world. If you wanted to open a machine shop, you need a facility that's reasonable, in a good location, and can get you to a railroad and a interstate, and you know, that's why this area is so successful. You know, but then you have an influencer. They need a phone and a charger. You know, they're in business. Yeah, it's all of that has to go into the world. Now, I got funding. I got a small business loan, which is rare. I think I signed away my firstborn son to be able to sign on, sign for that loan. But some people need funding, and there's all kinds of opportunities out there to get investors. Do you need one? I don't know, but that's what SBDC is good for. That's what the Gillum Center is good for. You know, are you in a business that actually needs funding? You know, are you going to be valued at millions and millions of dollars, but you're going to have more than that, millions of dollars in inventory or machinery or whatever? Or do you need a phone and a charger?
Yeah, exactly.
Anything in between those two.
So you're evaluating what your company actually needs.
And there's so many people out there that will help you with, do I buy new? Do I buy used? Do I, who knows a guy? Hey, I know a guy that's selling a piece of whatever. And that's the kind of stuff that has to work. And that's where you go and ask for help. And that's where you go to these networking things. And whatever the case is. Hey, is anybody selling a George Foreman grill? Yeah, I know a guy. You know, whatever it is.
Yeah,
whatever
absolutely.
It is.
I don't want to keep you up too long because I know you have to get to your next event. But is there any other story you'd like to share before we wrap things up? Anything you want to highlight?
No, I appreciate this. I feel like I've come a long way. I'm proud of myself. But I do have to go, and you can't do it yourself. And I'm a single member LLC. It's my business. My name's the only one on it. Blah blah blah. But it's just like raising kids. It takes a village. You have to have friends. You have to have people you can cry on their shoulder. You have to have people you can go to, whether it's SBDC. Hopefully, I'm in a position now that I can help other people. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And I would probably end with, opportunities will fall in your lap. And this was told to me we did an event for a family that started out in a transportation, had a limousine. They went from a limousine, then they realized that there are people in the Army that need to be transported every time they have to do something through the military. So they were able to get the contract, an idea to transport people to wherever, not like in the military, but if you're joining the military. So if you need a ride to sign your papers here, so they did that for a while, sold that business. They just bought a whole fleet of Amazon trucks. And that guy told me, he said, you will find opportunities that just, for some, you can almost trip over them. And it's like, it's your responsibility to pick them up and do something with them. And I look back and I think, well, how many people gave me an opportunity? If the city didn't hate me so bad, I would have never bought the food truck. So, that was one of those, if you want to say, when God closes a door, he opens a window or whatever, you were given that opportunity. And it'll work. I mean, it's not just going to, give them to you. And then it's what's the odds of this old condemned building being renovated, in the little town of Dayton? So it's okay, let's give this a try. and then once you start building that network, and then it's like, okay, we're going to do these family meals because Lord knows the whole planet shut down, so we're going to try to do something there. So there's these, opportunities. And that's where I think some people want to just sit back and wait, and like, it's not going to come to you. You got to go find it, but it's probably closer than you think it is. Just look for it.
And especially, in business, but also just in life. I feel like that's really relevant.
Yeah, and it goes back to being nice to people.
Yeah.
Just don't treat people poorly. Because it comes back to bite you. It's so much easier to be nice to people than it is to try to find a way to be mean to people. But then, at some point it's like, well, this might not be a good fit, or this might not be the restaurant for you, or we might not be the best caterer for your event, but give us a try. We bring a lot to the table, and like I said, I don't have, my staff is wonderful. Like, wonderful. I love them like my children. And yeah, I got a few like black sheep in there, but they're we all get along. We all try to go for the common goal, and some of them, their goal is to get a paycheck, and other ones, this is their livelihood. And if you're in that food business, you have that passion of want to see another person smile, and feel good, or do that man, like the man grunt is my favorite sound when they take a bite of a steak and a man will go, it's like, I love that sound. And that is as rewarding as when they ring out through the cash register. And if you can keep that stuff in mind, you'll be profitable by default. If you do the right things, it'll just be there.
I really like that. I think that's, it leaves me with something to think about. I don't want to, comment too much, because it's a good way to leave it.
Good. Good. Well, thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, I appreciate, you want to be a part of this with me and giving me the opportunity to interview or, podcast with you.
Podcast, whatever it's called. It's like the Googles. It has its own word. That's a verb.
I really enjoyed talking with you, Diane. Thank you for coming on.
Sure. Thank you.